बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना जमुना तीरा बन चारी यमुना तीरा बन चारी जय राधा माधव सुंदर बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Jai Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Radhe. Jai Gaur Nityai, Gaur Nityai, Gaur Nityai, Jai Gaur Nityai. Jai Sita Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman, Sita Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman. Jai Sri Nath Ji Jai, Gopal Ji Jai, Sri Nath Ji Jai, Gopal Ji. Jai Jai Prabhupada, सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान जी की जय, श्रीनाथ जी गोपाल जी की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to the Sunday Love Feast program in the auspicious month of Kartik. Kartik is a very special month. It's the time when the bhakti is on sale. You know? So you don't even have to buy one to get one free. Even if you steal one, you will get one free. You know? So very Krishna is extremely merciful on this. It's the time of the year when Krishna manifests completely his Bhakta Vatsalya qualities, where he is merciful to the devotees. So in this month, any sadhana, devotional practice we do, or any seva, devotional service we do, we get multifold benefits. And Kartik is such a beautiful month, such a special month. It's filled with a lot of festivals. And it gives us an opportunity to engage ourselves in both sadhana as well as seva. Just few days back, we had a Bholastami, appearance day of Radha Kund and Shyam Kund. It's a very auspicious day. A few days from now, on Thursday, we are celebrating Diwali. And then a few days after that, we are celebrating Govardhan Puja. So many festivals. Wonderful, wonderful, month of Kartik. So Diwali, as you know, is a very popular, most popular festival in India and also outside India now. And Diwali signifies the return of Lord Ram from back to Ayodhya. As you know, Lord Ram was sent in exile for 14 years by his stepmother Kaikeyi because of the influence of the maidservant Manthara. And when Lord Ram came after 14 years, the residents of Ayodhya, they got their life back. And they celebrated by lighting the lamp. And the lamp signifies the enlightenment, or moving from darkness to the light, or from material to the spiritual world. Tamoso Mam Jyoti Gamaya. So we are very fortunate that way because we have Ram Parivar here on our altar. So please do join us on Thursday evening to celebrate Diwali, and we'll discuss more about Lord Ram's pastimes on that evening. Now, from Gaudiya Vaishnava perspective, Diwali is also another important festival day for us, because it's on this day another wonderful pastime of the Supreme Lord took place, and that is Damodar Leela. The Lord Damodar was bound by his mother with a rope, and this particular pastime is so important that it's not that we sing this Damodarashtakam on the day of Diwali, but we sing throughout the month of Kartik. It's such an important event. And Damodarashtakam is originally composed by Satyavat Muni, and is filled with philosophy. You can just take one verse of Damodarashtakam and talk for hours or days, even for weeks, and you will still not just scratch the surface. So much philosophy is there in this Damodarashtakam. But tonight we have very limited time. So I was thinking, instead of speaking about the philosophy of the Damodarashtakam, why don't we talk about the mood in which the composer or the writer Satyavat Muni is writing this Damodarashtakam. Because if you understand the mood of Satyavat Muni, and if we can somehow get into that mood while chanting Damodarashtakam, we can certainly feel the bliss. Even mundane songs for that matter, right? The songs are written for different moods. When two people are together, there are a lot of love songs are written. When two people are separate, there are a mood of separation, there are a lot of songs are written. There are songs in the mood of celebration like festivals or the national pride. So many things are there. And depending upon your mood on a particular time, on a particular day, you can pick up a song, even a mundane song, and you feel a difference. The same way, the spiritual composition which is done by our acharyas. Each one of them are done with certain mood, certain composition, certain consciousness. And if you can somehow jump into that mood, we can feel the total difference. Otherwise, a lot of times we do sing Damodar Stakam because we like the tune of Damodar Stakam, we like the words of Damodar Stakam, right? But what is the real essence? So tonight we'll make an effort to get into the mood of Satyavat Muni, and if we can understand that, and when we chant tonight during Shayanarti, please try to get into that mood and sing, and you will definitely feel the difference. So, as you know, this Satyavat Muni is written this composition, Damodar Stakam. It has 8 verses, and we'll chant verses and we'll see how the sequence is flowing. And these 8 verses, they come in certain sequence. It's not that they are randomly composed. It follows the mood of Satyavat Muni, and we will walk through that mood and see how these different verses they follow his mood. So we'll chant Damodara Stakam, each verse. We can chant together. Most of you know this verse anyway. And since we don't have much time, we will chant this in a Teen Tal 3 beats, which 3 beats tune, which is much faster than the general Do Tal, tune which we sing during Shayan Darshan. So please follow with me, and then we'll just one verse at a time. Namamishwaram Sachi Danandarupam Lajakundaram Gokule Prajamanam Yashoda Vyolukala Davamanam Paramrishtam Bhakyavadro Drutagopra. So, Satyavat Muni is meditating on a particular pastime of the Supreme Lord. Now, generally, when we say meditation, we think that meditation has to be like a passive activity. It means you are removed from certain actions and you are aloof. Those type of concepts are there. But meditation doesn't have to be like a passive activity. Rupa Goswami explains in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are 4 different types of meditation. The first one is Nama Dhyan, the meditation on the name, so which we generally try to achieve during the chanting. Then there's also Rupa Dhyan, means when you take the darshan. Then there's a Seva Dhyan, when you do the service. And also there's Lila Dhyan, when you hear or when you meditate upon the pastimes of the Lord. So Satyavrata Muni is meditating on a particular pastime of the Supreme Lord. Now, before we explain this scene, what is meditating, right, we have to understand what is the position of Satyavat Muni. And as you know, that there are 5 different ways one can relate to the Supreme Lord, right? There's a neutrality, servitorship, then friendship, parental, and the conjugal. These are 5 primary relationships one can relate to the Supreme Lord. Satyavat Muni is primarily based on Vatsalya or parental mood. So that's the basic foundation of where this Damodar Stakam is written. Now, it doesn't mean that all the devotees who are on Vatsalya Bhav, they are at equal level. Lord Krishna, according to the requirement of his Leela, he covers those devotees at a different category, different levels. For example, Mother Yashoda, she is completely covered by a curtain of Yogamaya, and she never realizes that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. All she knows is Krishna is her son. That's it, 100% coverage. Whereas Mother Kunti, on the other hand, she's also on the Vatsalya Bhav, parental mood, but once in a while the curtain opens a little bit. So she's like 95% covered. So if you look at the Kunti's Maharani's prayers, she glorifies the Supreme Lord, which Mother Yashoda will never do. So likewise, there are different categories in the Vatsalya Bhav. So Satyavrata Muni is also like that. He is almost like 70 to 80% covered. He is primarily in Vatsalya Bhav, but the curtain gets opened many times, and he realizes there is a Krishna, is the Supreme Lord. So the mood is different. So again, in that Vatsalya mood is primarily written this Damodara Stakam. Now, in the first verse is meditating. Actually, Satyavrata Muni is focusing on a particular pastime, and he wants to explain that scene, particular scene, in first 2 verses. So the first 2 verses of Damodara Stakam is basically explaining that scene which he is focusing. Now, when you go to a movie, the first thing what they do is they always introduce the actor. He's a 7 times Oscar winner or the national award, international award. Why do they do that? Because unless they give that type of introduction, you won't be interested in the movie at all, right? So Satyavat Muni also is doing the same thing. In the first line of Damodarastakam, he wants to give the introduction of the main character of this Damodarastakam, and he says this main character says, Namami, I offer my respectful obeisances. Now, you don't do that to an ordinary person or ordinary actor, right? He also says that he is Ishvara. Ishvara means controller. Ishvara also means the intimate address as my dear Supreme Lord. And then he says, this particular character which I'm seeing is not an ordinary person like us who is made out of earth, water, fire, air, ether. He doesn't go through the miseries like the birth, old age, disease and death. He's not worried about any kind of doctors or medical help or Obamacare or whatever it is. He doesn't care. He says he's made out of Sat, Chit and Ananda. He's beyond all these things, miseries. So this is the introduction Satyavat Muni gives. And now then he starts explaining the scene which he is focusing. Now Satyavat Muni is like a cameraman. Now, what's the characteristic of a good cameraman? Like if you hire a cameraman, right, or a photographer, and depending upon the event, for example, if you hire someone, say, to cover for a, say, Mehendi ceremony, right? Now, how does he going to put his camera? He will first show the entire crowd, then he will focus on the bride, then he will focus on the bride's hand and feet, and then show the Mehendi design, right? That's how the cameraman works. Now, Satyavat Muni is a great cameraman. He has a lens of Vatsalya Bhava, parental mood, and he's also doing the same thing. So he's first he's saying, okay, the baby Krishna is running away from Mother Yashoda, and then he focuses straight onto Krishna, then he focuses straight onto Krishna's face, then he focuses straight onto Krishna's ears, and then he focuses straight onto Krishna's earring, Lashat Kundala. Now one might wonder, why is he focusing on the earrings of Krishna just to begin the scene? Krishna is wearing so many different ornaments, so why this Lashat Kundalam earring? Why is he focusing? Again, the main reason is he is in which bhava? Vatsalya bhava, parental. And what do parents generally do? They like to kiss the cheeks of their baby. It's a natural for a parent. So when baby Krishna is running, this Lashat Kundal, this earring, is constantly touching the Krishna's cheeks, and Satyavat Muni is thinking, how fortunate is this earring that it has reached the highest stage of perfection, highest stage of Vatsalya Bhava, parental mood, and it has got an opportunity to constantly kiss the cheeks of Lord Krishna. So it must be a great devotee. So this is how he starts the scene. And now he continues the scene of what is happening. He says, Krishna, what is he doing? Dhavamana. Dhavamana means running. Now running because of what? Yashoda Biloka. He is in fear of Mother Yashoda, and because of his running. Now as you know, Krishna was feeding butter to monkeys. Krishna was facing the monkeys and monkeys were facing Krishna. And Krishna fed the monkeys so much that monkeys' mouth were filled with butter and they were trying to eat. And at one point, all the monkeys were just stunned. They opened their mouth and they just stood like that. Krishna realized something is going wrong. He knew that somebody must have been come behind him, but he didn't bother, he didn't take a courage to look back. Krishna just turns his face, it says 10 degrees, just a little bit like that. And he could see the outline of his mother's figure. That's it. He starts running from that place. Dhavamana. He's running and running. And then, and it's interesting, he's running from that, but does that mean Krishna, the Supreme Lord, can run faster than his mother Yashoda? No. The gopi is Atyanta Drutya Gopi. It means the mother Yashoda is running faster than Krishna, and then what did she do? Paramrishtam, just catches him from the back. And now if you think about it, can someone really catch Krishna? In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a story about Kalayavana. You must have read it. And at one point, Kalayavana was trying to catch Krishna. And he was running so fast. He was running faster than this marathon Kenyan runs. He was running and running and running fast. And Krishna was just few feet away from Kalayavana. And how was Krishna? Was he running also? Krishna was walking as if he's on the beach. He's just walking slowly. And Kalayavana is running. And still he cannot catch. Why? Because he has no devotion. Whereas here, Mother Yashoda is able to catch Krishna because she has a devotion. So this is the first verse of Damodarashtakam, where Satyavat Muni is focusing. He will continue the explanation of the scene in the second verse. So let's chant this verse and see what happens. Rudantam netra yugam vedatam karam bhojayu mera sakam mushasakam hari kantakanta pitadraimanam. So Paramrishtam, Mother Yashoda caught him from behind. And what is Krishna doing? Rudantam. He's crying. But he's not crying like the real crying, He's crying with hiccups. He's like, like that. He's crying with a little bit of hiccups. Why is he doing that? Because he knows that he has done some mistake. So it's not that he's crying because of pain, He's Rudantam. Now, it's interesting, if you tell somebody that Krishna is crying, what will they say? Now they will say, does your God really cry? I mean, we go to God because we are crying, and your God is also crying. What's the use? Like, what can he help? How can he help us? In fact, Krishna tells in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the sign of crying or sign of trembling of the body is nothing but an impotency. He uses very strong words. And the same Krishna is crying here with tears. And Acharyas explain, crying is not bad. Crying for material emotions is bad. Crying for spiritual emotions are good. In fact, in spiritual world also there is crying. But crying to enhance the Leela or the pastime of the Lord. So here is Rudantam, is crying. And what is happening because of crying? The word Yugma means two. So with his two hands is rubbing two eyes. So Netra Yugma means with two eyes, is Mrajantam, is rubbing with Karamboja Yugma. With two hands is crying, is rubbing with two eyes. And how are his eyes? Atanka. So Atanka Netram. Atanka means what?
Fear.
Not fear, it's a terror. There's a word Atankavadi, you must have heard, means terrorist. So Atanka means terror. So he's not just fearful, he's really terrified with this whole scene. And what is he doing? Mushwasa, he's breathing very, very hard. And because of all this, what is happening is Kampatri Rekhankanta. On his neck, he has an elongated leg. There are three lines are showing up like a conch shell. And if you look at a conch shell on the backside, there are always lines. Depending upon the size of the conch shell, there are 3 or 4 lines, right? So Krishna has 3 lines on the on his neck. Now you must be wondering why this is mentioned in this word, 3 lines, right? In Vedic tradition, there are certain features of the body is considered as beautiful. If somebody has a dimples on the chin, it's considered as beauty. If somebody, while talking, if there's a line comes on the forehead, it's considered as beautiful. But somebody has a big nose with a pointed one, it's considered as beautiful. Same way, if somebody has 3 lines on the neck while crying or while talking, it's considered also very, very beautiful. Now, I don't think this concept of beauty is caught up in the real world now. Otherwise, people would have done some plastic surgery or a tattoo or something to do that. But Krishna had a real, natural, these 3 lines, and he's very beautiful in looking. And then Satyavat Muni is saying, I want to offer obeisances to that Damodar who is Bhakti Baddham, because he's bound by the Bhakti, devotion service. Now it's interesting. Rupa Goswami mentions in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu there are 6 characteristics of the Bhakti. And the fourth characteristic is Sudurlabha, means Bhakti is very rare to achieve because it binds Krishna, right? Who wants to get bound, right? So it's very rare. At the same time, the 6 characteristics is mentioned is what? Sri Krishna Akarshani. It means Bhakti can attract Krishna. And we all know when something attracts us, we get bound by that. If we are attracted by money, we are getting bound by money. If you are attracted by family, you are bound by family. It's natural. So because Krishna is attracted by bhakti, he is bound by bhakti. So the Satyavrat Muni is saying here that Krishna Damodar, who is bound by the bhakti, I want to offer my respectful obeisances. Now this is the scene. This is it. So now Satyavrat Muni is done by explaining what is the scene. Now he wants to explain in the 3rd verse why he is getting bound, why is he crying, and why is he running away. So the first 2 verses of this Damodarashtakam are known as theological verses. The next 2 verses is philosophical verses. So theology means learning about God. Philosophy means learning about truth. Theology tells us what God does or what are God's actions, whereas philosophy tells us what are God's intentions. And at our level, we need both theology and philosophy to advance. Krishna mentions this in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma cha me devam yo evam yo veti tattvata. Janma karma means my appearance and action, that is theology. Tattvataha means in truth, that is philosophy. If you do this both, Krishna says that you will come back to me and you will never come back to this material world. So these both are required. So now in the next verse, Satyavati Muni is giving the philosophy about what is this, is seeing the whole scene and why Krishna is getting born. So let's chant the next verse. Iti dasalilabhi ananda kunde swagoshani manjata akyapayantam Kadiyeshu radeshu bhaktaditatvam Puna prema kadamta. He says Krishna is getting bound or Krishna is doing crying, all this because he wants to drown, Nimanjantam, he wants to drown the inhabitants of Gokul in what? Ananda Kunda, pools of ecstasy. So when you go to Vrindavan, you can pay some money to the auto driver and say, take me to Radha Kund, Shyam Kund, Lalita Kund, right? So this is another special type of Kund, Ananda Kunda, pools of ecstasy. So Krishna is doing all this just to drown the people in the pools of ecstasy, Ananda Kunda. And to do this, Krishna doesn't mind getting bound and Krishna doesn't mind doing any menial service. It's not that first time, it's not that Krishna is getting bound for the first time. Once Krishna was supposed to meet Srimati Radharani and he was late because his mother had some plans, autumn festival. And as soon as he reached the forest to meet Radharani, what did she do? She bound him with a rope and he has to beg at her, please release me. In Brahma Vimohana Leela, Krishna expands as hundreds and thousands of cows and calves, and when these cows goes to the houses of Brajavasis, what did these gopas do or gopis do? They tie the cows. So Krishna is getting bound over and over. He's used to it, and he's also ready to do any kind of menial service so that people can be in the Ananda Kunda, pools of ecstasy. Sometimes these elderly gopis in Braj, right? They would hold a small piece of candy and tell Krishna, Krishna, if you dance and sing at the same time, so I will give you this candy. And Krishna will dance like a peacock, Krishna will dance like so many different animals, and he will go on for hours and finally he will get a small candy and he's very happy. And sometimes these gopis will say, Krishna, go and get this box, go and get this grocery, whatever. And Nanda Maharaj will say, go and get my slippers, and Krishna will get it. Why? Because he wants to drown them in the Ananda Kunda. So this is the philosophical concept of this Damodarashtakam. And Now, does that mean that everyone in Gokul can get into this Anand Kunda? And can everybody drown? Christmas and Satyavatman says, no. Tadiyeshu Dagneshu. If someone has a knowledge about his majesty, Aishwarya Bhav, then he cannot get into this Ananda Kunda special pool. Now, we also have that type of experience, right? Like, sometimes we have Aishwarya Bhav, sometimes we don't. Like when we are in the office, our position, our degree, or whatever it is, it impedes the relationship. We are not as open as at home, right? There's a formality when you are in the office. But when you are at home, whether you are a president or whether you are a whatever it is, still on Tuesday night you still have to keep the trash outside, right? Why? Because there's a different relationship and you enjoy that. That whole activity. Because there is no formality, no like any bhav, like Aishwarya bhav in that. So Krishna is saying, if someone has Tadi Esha nation, if someone has this Aishwarya bhav, that person cannot get into this Ananda Kunda. And Satyavat Muni says that this is the whole idea of why he's getting bound. And to that Supreme Lord Damodar, Satha Svatri Vade, Shata means 100. I want to offer my respectful obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. So this is, the first two verses are the seeing. Third verse is the philosophy. Now he's done. Satyavat Muni. Now Satyavat Muni wants to explain or talk about what is the main reason he is singing this or composing this Damodar Stuti. What are his cherished desires? Now Satyavat Muni wants to ask certain benediction. And these benediction you will see in next 4 verses, verse number 4 to 7. But interestingly, these benedictions, they are at hierarchical level. In the sense, he asks for something small, then his greed increases, he asks more. Then his greed again increases, more, and again more. So this spiritual greed which increases over and over is what is known as laulyam. Okay? This is opposite to lobha, material greed. The material greed leads to miseries. Now why material greed leads to miseries? Because when we have material greed, for example, I want a certain car. As soon as I get that, my attraction to that reduces or dwindles. And then I want something else. So, bhaushakai anantasya, material greed leads to different aspect and you want to jump from one to another and you are never happy. Whereas laulyam, spiritual greed, that once you get that, your attraction doesn't dwindle, but rather it increases and it keeps increases and you ask more and more. This is Vyavasaya Meka Buddhi, single focus. And you can see this pattern in how Satyavat Muni is asking for benediction in next 4 verses. And let's see what all things he is asking in next 4 verses. So let's chant the 4th verses now. Varam Deva Moksham Moksham Adhima Nachalya Praneha Varishadapina Idante Vapurnara Gopala Balam Sadame Manasya Virasakimandi. Now before he asks the first benediction, he wants to put a disclaimer here. Generally when you want to go and preach to a rich person, the first thing you have to say is, I don't want your money. I don't want your fame. It's not that I have come here to take a picture with you and put it on my Facebook and make people envious. That's not my intention. I don't want any, your influence. Nothing. I just want you to read Bhagavad Gita as it is. So if you say that man might be interested, right? So now Satyavat Muni is also using the same technique here. He says, my dear Lord, Varam Deva, you can give any kind of benediction. One of the names of Supreme Lord is Varadaraj, very famous temple in Kanchipuram. So Krishna can give any kind of benediction. So he says, you are Varam Deva, but I don't want moksha. I don't want liberation. In the Sayujya here, moksha may refers to Sayujya Mukti or impersonal liberation. Now interestingly, this Damodarastakam written is such a high level. Satyavat Muni is not even saying that I don't want dharma, artha, kama. He is directly saying I don't want moksha. If you say someone I don't want $1,000, it's understood you don't want $100 and $10 also, right? It's included. So he says I don't want that moksha, I don't want that impersonal liberation. Now you might ask, or you might think that, okay, you might be asking for some other liberation. You know, there are 5 different types of liberation. There is Sayujya, then there is Samipya, Salokya, Srasti, and Sarupya, and then last is Salokya, actually. Sarupya. So 5 different. And the highest one is Salokya, means to live in the planet or the Vaikuntha Loka of the Supreme Lord. And he says that I don't want moksha and moksha modima. I don't even want that Salokya mukti. Means I don't want to live in that Vaikuntha Loka. And then he says, Nachanyam Raniham Muresha the Piya. Now this in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is an explanation about that when you practice Navada Bhakti, you get certain type of boon. And here Satyavati Muni is saying that I don't want even that boon which you practice when you practice Navada Bhakti. And what does he want? You know, what does he really want? He said, Idante Vapurnatra Gopala Balam Sadame Manesya. All I want is Gopala Bala, that beautiful form of Lord Krishna, Gopal. I want that Sadame Manesya to remain in my heart all the time. That's all. The form of Gopal in Vrindavan, Bal Gopal, I want in my heart. So this is the first benediction which Satyavati Muni is asking, that form of Bal Gopal, let it be in my heart. Now, the Laulim is kicking in again, the greed, right? Now Satyavati Muni is thinking, oh my God, what did I do? I asked for the form of Bal Gopal in my heart, but what is the most beautiful part of the body? What's the most beautiful part of the body? Face. Like you remember people by face, not from the whole body, right? Like when you come here, you take, sometimes people will take the picture of whole Gaunita, but somebody has a good zoom, they always take the face and they enlarge and put a picture, and then you can remember Gaunita much more easily. So face is the most important. So Satyavati Muni's Laulim is kicking in and says, oh my God, I should have asked for the face, not just the whole body. So that he explains in the next verse. So let's chant this, the 5th one. Idam te mukham bojam achanta nilai Vritam kundalai siddha rakasya gopya Moshum pisam nimbara katarame Mayasya virasamalam lakshayade. Now he's explaining that beautiful face that he wants in his heart. He says, Idam te mukham boja. This Bal Gopal's face is like a mukham boja. It's like a lotus flower. Lotus flower. Why lotus flower? Because lotus flower is in the midst of all kind of muddy water, but it doesn't get contaminated. Same way Krishna is in the midst of all this material world, but he's from the spiritual world, he's not getting contaminated at all. So he says mukham bojam. And then this lotus flower is always surrounded by what? The honeybees, right? So, like the honeybees always surround the lotus flower, Satyavati Muni is saying Krishna's that beautiful face is surrounded by locks of hair, kuntala, like locks of hair. And how is this hair? Krishna's hair? They are atyanta nila, they are dark color, and they are also snigdha, means they are shiny also. And also there is rakta, means there is a tinge of reddish color. So this Bal Gopal's Krishna's hair is curly locks of hair, shiny, dark, with a tinge of reddish color. Now this doesn't mean that Krishna has to use special shampoo or a conditioner to perm his hair. It's a natural for Krishna to have this beautiful hair. And then to increase the beauty of that face, he says that Bimba Rakthadarame, Muschumbitam Bimba Rakthadarame. His lips are reddish like the Bimba fruit. Now you must be wondering, what is this Bimba fruit? How many of you have tasted Bimba fruit? Actually, this is a tropical fruit. It's more like a vegetable, not a fruit. Shape-wise, it looks like a tindora. Taste-wise, it is more like a karela. So it's actually a vegetable, not a fruit. But when it's on the tropical vine, it grows, and when it ripens, it turns into bright red color. And Satyavat Muni is saying, your lips are like the reddish bimba fruit. And then this particular phase, Chagopya Mohishchumbitam, this Gopi, the mother Yashoda, is constantly kissing this Krishna's beautiful face. And Satyavat Muni is saying, I want that face, Manasya Avirastam. I want that face to remain in my heart all the time. So this is the benediction number 2. So what is the first benediction? The form of entire Balgopal in my heart. Now he is getting more specific. He wants the face, Mukambojam, in my heart. Now the lolyam kicks in again, the greed, right? Now Satyavat Muni is thinking, yes, it's good to have a face of somebody in my heart, but isn't it better if that person is right in front of my eyes? Right? That's much better. So that desire he expresses in the next verse. So let's see how he expresses that desire and what emotions he's going through when he asks the third desire. So let's chant this. Namo Deva Damoda Prananta Vishnu Prasiddha Prabho Dukha Jala Bhimanam Kripa Drishti Vishrayi Dinam Batalu Granesha Mamadya Yedati Drashya. So now he's saying Yed Akshi Drashya. My dear Lord, please come in front of me. It's much better than your face in my heart. Now, whom is he addressing this? The Supreme Lord. Now, can you ask the Supreme Lord to come in front of your eyes? It means you are ordering him to come in front of your eyes, right? So now Satyavat Muni is trembling when he is asking this benediction. Oh my God, am I asking the right thing? Or am I doing something wrong? So this is like an emotional climax. He doesn't know. He's getting confused. He's getting, complete emotional turbulence. Am I asking the right thing? And he doesn't even know how to pray to Supreme Lord for this benediction. Rupa Goswami mentions in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are three different types of prayers. Generally all these acharyas use. The first type of prayer is, you look up the Lord. It's not samprarthanatmika. When you look up the Lord and say, my dear Lord, you are such a big, you are so and so, like you glorify the Supreme Lord. So that's samprarthanatmika. Then some acharyas write in a different mood. They look down and they say, I am such a fallen, I don't know what to do. Please help me. So the samprarthanatmika, you can see the Gajendra prayers and all, there are many Brahma's prayers, they fall into that category. Now, the second one, when you look down and say, please lift me, these are known as Dainya Bodhika. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajan, Amar Jivan Sada Pavi. So, these type of bhajans are like always lift me up. Then there's a third category, it's known as Lalsamai. You don't look up or down, but almost at the same level, but you're asking the Lord, give me some specific service. Like if you see Narottam Das Thakur's bhajan, Radha Krishna Pranamora, I want to swing the divine couple, I want to fan them, I want to anoint their faces, I want to give them tambur. So this is like you're asking for a specific service. So this is known as Lalsamai prayers. Now generally most of the prayers, most of the compositions fall into one of this category. But Satyavat Muni is going through such a emotional turbulence in the 6th verse, he's so confused. This is an interesting verse in Damodar Shtakam where all three types of prayers are in one verse. So let's understand how it's, because he's asking Adhyakshi Drashya, like, oh my dear Lord, come in front of me. But how is he saying? He starts with, Namo Deva Damodar, oh my Lord Damodar, Ananta, oh Ananta, oh Vishnu, and then says Prabhu, oh my Master. So he's looking up and saying all this, oh my Damodar, oh Ananta, oh Vishnu. So these are samprarthanatmika prayers. And then he looks down. He says, Dukkha Jalabdi Magnam. Dukkha means miseries, Jala means water, Abdi means ocean, Magna means drowned. He says, I have drowned in the ocean of these miseries. And then he says, I'm also Deenam. I'm really fallen. I have no qualification. So this falls into Dainya Bodhika. So you look down. And then Lal Samai, like he's asking for a specific service or specific, like request to the Lord. He says, Yadi Akshi Drashya. My dear Lord, please come in front of my eyes so that I can serve you. Right? So intimate relations at the same level. So this is the verse in Damodarastakam where there is a complete emotional turbulence. This is one of the reasons when a lot of devotees, when they chant Damodarastakam, when they come to sixth prayer, they increase the pitch. They go to a different tune because it indicates the mood of Satyavat Muni, what confusion is going through. So now somehow, or rather with deep breath, he said, Yadi Akshi Drashya, come in front of me. Now this is the third benediction. The first one is form of Bal Gopal. Second one is the face of Bal Gopal, Mukham Bojam. And now come in front of me. Now the laulyam kicks in again. Spiritual greed. Right? Now Satyavat Muni is thinking, okay, I have asked the Supreme Lord to come in front of my eyes. But is that a real benediction? Lord Krishna was in front of Duryodhan 5,000 years back. What was the use? He was in front of Dushasan, Yudhishthira, and so many Dhritarashtra. Did that really help? No. So why am I asking this? Better than, like coming in front of the eyes, I should have asked the service to the Lord. Because service is much better than seeing the Lord in front of my eyes. Because that is the highest benediction. So what a fool I am. I should have asked the service. So this desire of Satyavat Muni, he explains in the number 7 verses. So let's chant this verse. Kuberatmaja Bhata Mutraivaya Bhatuya Mochita Bhati Bhajapridosha Tata Prema Bhakti Kame Prayacha Namokshe Graho Meti Dhamodareha. So now the fourth and the last benediction, he says, Tatha Prema Bhakti. Give me that devotional service which is unadulterated, without any tinge of any contamination. So he's saying, give me that Prema Bhakti, which is generally practiced in Vrindavan, is completely pure. And then he says, he's asking for Prema Bhakti. Now Satyavat Muni is thinking, I have asked the Lord so many things, but am I qualified or am I reasonable? So at this point, at this junction, when he asked for the Prema Bhakti, Satyavati Muni is getting into the mood of a lawyer. He says, I asked for Prema Bhakti, but I think I deserve it because you have done that in the past. So he's more like a lawyer. Like sometimes when a lawyer wants to prove certain things, they always refer the past judgment or cases, right? So here also, Satyavat Muni is doing the same thing to tell the Krishna that I'm not unreasonable here in asking for Prema Bhakti. So he quotes the incidents of Kuvera, sons of Kuvera. He said, for sons of Kuvera, Bhadda Mriteva, they were bound by not ropes but material attachment. This material knot is extremely tight, strong. And they were bound, and they were also sinful. But Toya Mochita, you liberated them when you were Toya Mochita, means you were bound, but you released them. See, generally when I have to release someone, I have to be free first, right? So Satyavat Muni is saying, you were bound, Krishna, you were bound, but you released the sons of Kuvera. And what did you give them? You give them Bhakti Bhajo Kratacho. You gave them the highest form of the Bhakti. So that means I'm also qualified here. So he is kind of getting into this mood of a lawyer. He says, I am qualified to get this Prema Bhakti, so give me the Prema Bhakti. So this is the fourth and the final benediction he's asking from the Lord. And there is no more benediction because once you ask for the service, what else can you ask in life? This is it. There's nothing else in this life which is better than the service. So this is the last benediction of Satyavat Muni. Now, Satyavat Muni comes out of the Vatsalya Bhav. He comes out of this curtain of the parental love. And then if does a final prayer, because he understands, I ask for Prema Bhakti. And Prema Bhakti is a manifestation of Krishna's internal potency. And Radharani is the representation of Krishna's internal potency, Ladini Shakti. So that means to get Prema Bhakti, I have to pray to Srimati Radharani, otherwise how will I get? But those who are in Vatsalya Bhav, they never pray to Radharani, right? Because those who are in Madhurya Bhav, they never pray to Krishna's Balalila. So it's like, there is Rasabhas, they're not compatible. So now, because he asked for Prema Bhakti, he wants to come out of the Vatsalya Bhav and give the final prayer to Sri Radha Krishna. So let's chant the last verse. Namaste Sudame Surajiti Dame Pradyodarayata Vishwasadame Namo Radhikaya Radhiya Priyaya Namo Nantariraya Devaya Tubhyam. He said Namo Radhikaya. Because I want to claim bhakti, I want to get the mercy of Srimati Radharani. And Kartik is an auspicious month, so we all also can take advantage of this month because it's a month of Srimati Radharani. And if you want a bhakti, this is a perfect time. So Satyavat Muni is saying Namo Radhikaya. He offers obeisance to Radharani, and now he also offers obeisance to Namaste Sudhamne, the rope which was binding Krishna. Now, why is he offering obeisance to the rope? Because it's not an ordinary rope. It is part of Krishna's pastime. And this rope, as you know, that Mother Yashoda, when she could not bind, she went and collected the ropes from the entire Raj. And each rope was used to tie the cows, which was the manifestation of Krishna. So each piece of rope was also used to bind Krishna. And on top of it, when Mother Yashoda was trying to tie Krishna, it was shot by 2 fingers. And finally, Srimati Radharani has to give her hairband to tie, and as soon as she gave the hairband, Krishna was born. So, Satyavat Muni is saying, this rope is not an ordinary rope, so I have to pay obeisance, respectful obeisance to this rope. And then he says, Pura Dikti Damne, this rope is also effulgent. Why? Because it's like a Brahman covers the universe. This rope is also covering the belly of Balagopal. So it's a very special. So I want to offer obeisance to the rope. And then he says, Tvadiyo Darayanto Vishwasadami. This small belly of Balagopal is the abode of all universes. And he wants to offer obeisance to the Balagopal's belly. Now, why is he saying that this is the abode of all the universes? Because now he has come out of this Vatsalya Bhav. He knows this same baby Krishna was once, or rather, a man also expands as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu's navel, what comes? The lotus flower. And on the top of lotus flower, there is a Brahma. And on the stem of that lotus flower, entire universe is there. So that's why he's saying this small belly of Balgopal is the abode of all universes, because he's thinking from the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu perspective. And then finally he says, Namo Ananta Lilaya Divaya Tupyam. My dear Lord, your pastimes are Ananta, unlimited, and I want to offer my respectful obeisance to Lord Damodar. So just to summarize, Damodar Ashtakam has 8 prayers. And Satyavat Muni is primarily in the parental mood. First 2 verses, he explains the scene, that is, explains what is happening in the Braj. And the 3rd verses, he gives the philosophy, why is he doing. And the 4th to 7th verses, he asks for a benediction. 4th verse, he asks for the form of Balgopal in his heart. 5th verse, he asks for the Mukambhoja, the form of face in his heart. And then in the 6th verse, he asks for the he says, Yadyakshidrasya, come in front of me, and where he goes to the complete emotional turbulence. And then in the 7th verse, he asks for the Prema Bhakti. And also in the 7th verse, he says that I am qualified because you have done this in the past. So he gives an incidents about the sons of Kuvera. And then it was, he comes out of the Vatsalya Bhav and finally he pays obeisances to Srimati Radharani and the special robe. CC Damodar Ashtakam ki
Jai.
Thank you.